everyone, I'm Whitney and I'm back again today with another homeschooling kind of video because that's what we're doing a lot of right now because my kids are so excited about school. So I definitely want to feed right into that while they are so excited about school and about learning, and I'm trying to do my best to make it as much fun as possible for them. So we are continuing with our theme weeks, and I think we're going to do these throughout the rest of the summer, and then come actual like traditional school time, figure out where we want to go from there. But this week's theme was fairy tales, folk tales, and nursery rhymes. So I kind of just picked and I kind of just selected the nursery rhymes and stories and things that I thought would have the most appeal and interest to my kids, and then kind of centered some activities around that. It was a little more difficult this week than it was last week when we did Bug Week. If you haven't seen that video already, you should check it out. I have it linked right up here. So a few of the activities I came up were a little bit of a stretch to connect with the theme, but that's okay. We still had a lot of fun, and I have a ton of stuff to share with you all today. So let's jump right into all of the activities and games and things that we did this past week that fit within the fairy tale, folktale, and nursery rhyme theme. I'm going to start off with some of the games that we did this week. This first one is just a fairy tale themed puzzle. My youngest daughter is obsessed with puzzles. She is only 3 years old, but she's actually really good at them. This one is, I believe, 60 pieces, and she can do it all by herself when she wants to. Sometimes she likes to have help, but she can do it herself. And it just has a lot of really cute designs and things on it. There's mermaids, there's fairies, all sorts of stuff. She picked this one out. She used her birthday money, I believe it was, to pick it out at TJ Maxx, and she loves it, and I just thought it was a great one to incorporate into this week, even though it doesn't really pertain to a particular fairy tale or anything. It's just a lot of fun, and she did do this puzzle this week. We also have a Three Little Pigs game that the kids got for Christmas last year from a family member, and they really enjoyed this one. There is a booklet in it that has the possible combinations of how you can lay out either the pigs or the wolf, and have to, depending on if it's daytime, you have to position the houses so they are around the pigs, and if it is nighttime, you have to position the pigs so that they are hidden inside their houses away from the wolf. So it is a really interesting creative thinking kind of game, and it also comes with a little picture book about the Three Little Pigs. So the kids like playing with this on a regular basis, but we did make sure to play it some this week since the Three Little Pigs was one of the stories that we read. Another item that we have already was the Tell a Tale, and Peyton got this for Christmas this year. So you have the backgrounds, and you have the characters and scenery, and then you roll the dice, and whatever you roll is the story that you have to make up and tell along the way, and then you can periodically roll the dice again to incorporate some more characters or to change the storyline or whatever. It's a very fun creative thinking kind of game. My kids are a little bit too young to really think of the stories themselves. They've started trying, but they have very limited storytelling skill. So most of the time I let them roll the dice, and either myself or my husband will tell the story, and then during parts of the story we'll ask the kids, oh, what do you think the princess should do now that she has to jump? Or why do you think they're trying to get rid of this potion, or something like that. So we'll incorporate them in the story, but we still have to do most of the storytelling. But as they get older, I know they will get better at that, and this is a really fun way to practice just creative thinking and storytelling skills. And going along with the same more creative and just fun theme. We did do some stamps this week. I have the Frozen set of stamps. I got this on clearance at Walmart at the end of winter, I believe, or after Christmas. It was $7. This isn't even all of them. There were more stamps than this, 2 other ink pads, some colored pencils, and so we just stamped away and had a lot of fun. Not particularly anything to do with storytelling, but it's good coordination of actually stamping the stamp and then stamping it down into the notebook. So it's just a really good skill to practice. And this was the closest thing I could come up with that out of all the stamps I have that were anything to do with fairy tales. I also did a sensory bin this week. I have gotten into sensory bins in the last couple of months now that my youngest is past the stage of putting everything in her mouth. Hallelujah, that was a long stage. My favorite way to do a sensory bin is with beans. I had done rice before, but rice gets very dusty as it breaks down and it kind of gets weird feeling. So I really like the beans because they are affordable and they are just a really nice shape and texture. And let me know if you want a separate video on sensory bins. I do like coming up with sensory bins for the preschool age, which is not something that I see that often. Most sensory bins are more for the like toddler age range. But I like doing it for older kids because I have older kids. So to fit it into the theme this week, I have the gems, which are like treasures. You can pretend they're all sorts of treasures. The beans can be for Jack and the Beanstalk. And then I went through all of our animal beads and I found all the ones that pertain to the stories. So this is like the tortoise and the hare. This is a bear for Goldilocks. The 3 little kittens who've lost their mittens. I went through all of our beads. Oh, we have the hare from the tortoise and the hare. Anyway, so we went through, and so what I do when I get a sensory bin out is I tell the kids they can play in it as long as they want. So I put down a sheet. This is just a twin size bed sheet that we don't use anymore. I put that down, then I put the sensory bin right in the middle. I give the kids a scoop and some extra bowls, and I tell them they can play as long as they want. Then when they're done just playing around, there is a learning type activity that goes with it. So in this case, they had to separate the gems into one bowl and the animals into another, and then they strung them on the string. So there's sorting, there's fine motor, all sorts of stuff. Other times I'll have them match different things, but there's always some component of sorting or fine motor or memory work or something related to the sensory bin. So it's fun, but it's also practicing some sort of skill, which I like doing since, like I said, they are in that preschool age range and not in the toddler range. So the sensory bin is almost always a hit with my 3-year-old. With my 4-year-old, it's kind of hit and miss on if she really wants to do it or if she wants to take it away from my youngest daughter, or she's not always into the sensory bins, but my 3-year-old is almost always the one who is asking and asking and asking to play with it. Okay, now let's get into the books. I have a few different ones. Okay, so I knew I had all of these folk tales and fairy tales that I wanted to do, and I had to figure out what books they were in. We did end up reading one Disney story. We did do the traditional Disney Snow White. This is the 70s version of it, so the illustrations are different than the movie, but it is a really good version. We liked that a lot. The kids just flipped through this on their own. We didn't actually read any particular story out of it, but this is a book we got at the thrift store for $1 a couple weeks ago, and we will read some of the stories out of it at a later time. This is a book that my mom picked up at Aldi, the grocery store, last year, I think. And this one's really cute. It came with some dolls and things that you could get, and it is an interactive storybook. So it definitely holds their attention because there are things to turn, there are things to pull. So my oldest daughter really enjoyed this one. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We also have the Wizard of Oz version of this, but we didn't pull it out for this week. We just did Little Red Riding Hood. And then the two main books that we read from are these two right here. They are the Childcraft series, and I used Volume 1, the Poems for Early Childhood, and Volume 3, Folk and Fairy Tales. And we read so many out of here. We did Jack Be Nimble, Peas Porridge Hot. We did Hickory Dickory Dock. Let's see. Jack and Jill. Hey Diddle Diddle. Baba Black Sheep. And did we do Humpty? I think we did this, just the first verse of Humpty Dumpty, and we did Mary Had a Little Lamb. I think that's all we did out of that book, and I love the illustrations in this book. They are so cute. And we do have the entire series of the Childcraft set. I had picked them up at a thrift store that had like overrun with books, and so they had them for a ridiculously low price, and I snatched them all up. In the next book, we read The Little Red Hen and the Grain of Wheat. And by the way, our sight words for this week were red and not. So we used Little Red Riding Hood and The Little Red Hen to reinforce the word red. And then we did, oh, and for the word not, because they're always like, not I, said the duck. And then we did Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where we talked about small, medium, and large. And we did the Three Little Pigs, as well as the Three Billy Goats Gruff. My kids were not a fan of that one. And the Princess and the Pea, or as it's called in here, The Real Princess. Cinderella, which we didn't get to this week. The Ugly Duckling. The Lion and the Mouse, and The Hare and the Tortoise. So we did a lot of reading from these books this week. My kids didn't love all of the traditional versions of these stories. They prefer, of course, like the Disney versions, but I think it's great to get them exposed to the classic versions anyway, just so they know that, you know, Disney wasn't the original and it's not the only way to tell the story. We also have this little book that I found at the thrift store a week or two ago, and it's Vocabulary Power Reading, and it's kindergarten sight words. I got it for 50 cents, and it goes over 150 sight words. So it has the word, it has in a sentence, and then another sentence with two words that rhyme with it. So we had not, and we had red. And so I'm really enjoying this little book because it is just a great visual for the sight word with the little picture that'll help them remember, and I can't wait to use this in future weeks as well. Like last week, we did a little spelling activity where I had the flashcards, they're somewhere in here, for red and not, and we used our little letter buttons to spell them out to, again, reinforce the sight words, how they're spelled, how they look. I wish I had lowercase letter buttons for this, but I don't, and I don't have enough lowercase letter magnets either, but this works. They are both pretty good at knowing the uppercase and lowercase of each letter, so it's not too bad of a deal. We also are working on rhyming, so finding words that rhyme, and so I went through my flashcards and I pulled out all of them that have a rhyme. So we have hat and cat and bat. We have ring and king, fox and box, jar car, frog dog, goat, boat, rug, and bug. And I thought this was a good week to talk about rhyming some more, because a lot of the nursery rhymes and some of the fairy tales rhymed. And so I'm just trying to kind of instill that a little more, because I think it helps with learning to read, where they have the at words and the ugh words and og words and all that stuff. So what I would do, because my kids are having a little bit of a difficult time grasping the concept of what a rhyme is, I would pull out 3 of the cards, and 2 of them would rhyme and 1 wouldn't. And I would say the names to them and ask them, you know, which ones sound like they end in the same sounds. So they got pretty good at it by the end. It's something we definitely have to work on a lot more, which is fine. They are very young. They are very advanced for their age as well, but you know, it's never too early to start gently bringing those topics in. You know, it's just never too early. And I found these cards at Dollar Tree recently that I thought would be really fun once they're better at the rhyming. And it's cat, and then you can find the things in the picture that rhyme. So in this one it's hat, and then on the back there's a list of a ton of other words that rhyme with it, or like crab in a cab. Lots of rhymes for it. There's hen with a pin, you know. So I thought this would be a really fun game to use later once they are better at rhyming, but for now we're just trying to get that concept of the fact that a rhyme is to do with how the word ends. So anyway, off topic. So another activity we did for this week was to use our shape buttons, and I went through all of our shape buttons and I matched them up in sets of 3. So the sets are small, medium, and large. See if I can find them here. Of course I can't. See if I can do another shape. Okay, so small, medium, and large. And so I had my oldest daughter pull out 3 of each shape. She would stack them to make sure that they were in fact 3 different sizes. Then I had 3 containers, one for small, one for medium, and one for large. And this was just to get her to be more aware of sizes, because some of them are pretty similar, and if you just glance at them, you oh, they're about the same. But I wanted her to look more closely and see that they actually are different. And also with the hexagons and pentagons, she has trouble noticing the difference between those. And the nursery rhyme or fairy tale that I associated it with was Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. So she was finding the button for the baby bear, the button for the mama bear, and the button for the daddy bear. So at first she was kind of like not into it, but I really encouraged her, and by the end of it she was having a lot of fun doing that one. We also did some more phonetic sound practice. It's something that we didn't really do much of last week, but we need to stay on it because my daughter is obsessed with wanting to learn how to read, but she can't quite read most things yet. So these are wood slices off of our stone fruit trees, and I literally just cut them myself, and I drew on them with a Sharpie. Some of them are cracking, but I really don't care at all. So I wrote the uppercase on one side, the lowercase on the other, and then what I did was I just would go through, grab one, and ask her to make the sound for that letter. So, you know, I pick up the P and she says pa, pa. Zzz, da, You know, and so the way I fit this into the theme was I said, these are from the branches that the second pig used to build his house. So, you know, it's a bit of a stretch, but, you know, it's still fun if you can come up with a way to fit it into the theme, and the kids are totally going to believe it, whether it's a stretch or not. Speaking of the three little pigs, I got some of the Velcro Dots from Dollar Tree, and I stuck them on some popsicle sticks that we have, and we used them to make shapes. We also use them to make a little house shape and different things. These are fun for just if you need your kid's hand to be busy for a little bit. Those are a really fun one for that. Last week I had made some DIY flashcards, and I made some more for this week. This one is for my youngest daughter. It was a simple, just match up the characters. So we had Belle and Belle, Snow White and Snow White, Ariel, you get the idea. And I put it in a plastic bag so we can do the dry erase. So if she wanted to do it over and over and over, she can. And this is a fantastic way to use up stickers. These stickers are terrible quality, but once you put them like this, it doesn't matter. And then for these cards, they are to count syllables. So we have Aurora, 3. Ariel, 3. Cinderella, 4. Belle, 1. So my daughter enjoyed this, and again, going with Disney stuff, but that's what I have. And they are still based off of traditional fairy tales and folk tales. So in my book, it counts. It uses stickers that we have had hanging around for too long, and it's a fun activity for the kids that they can do several times if they want. We also did a little monster game, just because I wanted to. So this monster game came from Dollar Tree, and you're supposed to write a letter on it with dry erase, and then there's stickers that you then can stick on the monster, and if they start with the same letter. But instead, I put all of my stickers onto paper so that they would last longer, and we came up with categories. So we put one bowl here if it is a living thing, one bowl here if it is non-living. So a king, he's alive. A fox is alive. Let's see. You know, a yo-yo or a ball, not alive. A rainbow, not alive. My kids really enjoyed that activity as well. They liked deciding if things were alive or not alive, and then one kid was assigned the alive monster, one kid was assigned the not alive monster, and so they were in charge of that container and making sure the right things got put in it. And another sticker project that we did, a left and right. So is the character facing left or are they facing right? They had to go in the correct category. And I was actually very surprised at how well my 3-year-old did. She only got one of them wrong. And I think that is fantastic because I just figured she would stick stickers all over the place, and she really zoned in on this one and did a fantastic job on it. Here is my oldest daughter. She actually didn't do as well because she sort of lost interest partway through. But still, it was a lot of fun for them. They got to do stickers. They got to do princess stickers, you know, all sorts of stuff. I love making little worksheet pages customized for them because I can focus it to exactly the skill level and the items that they are ready for and that they will be interested in. Nearly last, we had a little sticker scene from Dollar Tree. It just had a bunch of cute fairies and unicorns and whatever. And so the kids each got one sheet of the stickers and they put them on here. This is something that I just do every once in a while, and they really enjoy it, and it's a good way for them to work together because they have to use the same background together. Yeah, so that's just something fun. And lastly is this Sophia the First Shapes and Patterns workbook. I just grabbed it because Sophia is a princess, you know, and it's one that I had bought a while back that we need to use. They are past the skill level already. So instead of focusing really on what it's meant to be teaching, which is the shapes and stuff, instead I was working on coloring with my daughter, which sounds kind of silly. But right now I'm working with Peyton, my oldest, to be able to color inside the lines better. So as you can see, all the big scribbles is my youngest daughter, but the ones that are a little more controlled, that's my oldest daughter, and she is doing a great job. This one's really awesome. She's doing a great job of learning how to color inside the lines, which is a good skill to have. You know, it's just something that we all need to know how to do. And she's getting better and better. Something just clicked in the last couple weeks, and yeah, she's doing a great job. So we only got to page 7 on this one. So in the next, you know, week or two, we will keep it up. And it's also not only a practice on coloring inside the lines, but it's a practice on taking turns, because for every page, Peyton would color one, Skylar would color one, Peyton would trace the shape, and then Skylar would color it in. And the same on this page, we would do one kid, then the other, and then back to the first, and back to the second. So it is really great practice on waiting your turn and all of that, and they did a great job on that, which was super, super awesome. So I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the activities and things that we did this week. We definitely did have a few that we didn't get to because we had a lot of stuff going on this past week. There was, I wanted to play red light, green light, for a couple of reasons. One, because the sight word was red, and because I thought it kind of played into the tortoise and the hare story, where the hare kept stopping during the race and the tortoise kept going. So I thought that'd be fun, but we just didn't get a chance to. It rained so much that we didn't get to play outside that much. And then we didn't get around to reading the actual story of Cinderella. My kids are very familiar with the story, but we didn't get to read it this week. But other than that, we had a lot of fun with this theme, and my kids are definitely enjoying all the activities, and they beg to do school every day, like so much. So like every day we do school, and then they keep begging for more school, and I'm like, I'm out of activities. I don't have any more school to do with you. So I'm really glad that they are thoroughly enjoying it. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm just trying to really foster that excitement for learning, because that is so special and something that most kids tend to lose as they get older, and we want to hang on to it as long as possible. But anyway, that is it for this week. Let me know if you have any ideas for themes that we should do. I already have quite a list of ideas, but I'm definitely open to more ideas. Yeah, so I will see you all again next week. Bye.